Becky? Okay,
Got it.
got it. Okay, Tim. All right.
Hi.
So Carolyn and I are joining from our lovely home here in Siesta Key and down in my little office. And here we go. So you go ahead and take over.
Okay, so you've given it over to me, so I'm going to put up this. Everybody can everybody see a PowerPoint slide, right?
Not
Nope.
yet.
Um, don't see it, eh?
Okay. You are co-host, so you should be able. Now, did you go to share first?
That's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Gee, I don't feel so bad after all.
There you go.
Oh, it's always always.
There it goes.
Feeling better every minute.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Okay. All right. Very good. So listen, I do have some slides here with a little bit of background. Some of you have seen some of this before, but we have some other new people. But I'm going to try to go through these early background slides very quickly because we really want to get to the main part of our agenda, which is how can you as volunteers help out? And there are some activities really even starting even next week that we could get into of completing our inventory of the homes along the canal and the mini reefs that we have in place. And there's some simple tasks that we just need some help with, and it would be a really good way to get started for those that are in town and those that are available.
Are you limiting this initially to the beginning of the canal system? How far are you going down?
Yeah, I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you some. I'm going to show you the system that we're talking about. First is just a little overview of our team. Jean is our leader. Jean is a active board member for the Siesta Key Association and really has taken the reins of leading our group here. Phil, who you could have seen earlier when we were chatting, and is on the left of that photo, has been a big part of our group, has a great knowledge of lots of things related to the water quality in the canal, but also the mini reef systems. I'm Dave Vizzolo on the right side of this photo. The photo was taken by Paul. If I recall, I think this was during one of our installations. And as I said, Paul has really been doing a lot of great video work, but also great communications strategy for us as we get the information out. Some new members to the team are Tim, and I'm going to have Tim introduce himself, and Kim Walsh. Kim is from the Out of Door Academy, which many of you I think know is located right here on Siesta Key, right on Heigl Avenue, across the street from the canal. Tim is with the Ringling College of Art and Design. And Tim, maybe give a little bit of your background, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, and how you got engaged with our group. If you don't mind, Tim.
Boom. Okay. So I'm the professor of environmental studies at Ringling College of Art and Design. I have a background in marine biology. I've done several oceanographic cruises. Had done a lot of work earlier on marine mammals and seabirds, and then moved over. Well, I actually started in salt marshes, and then got my feet wet, and then came back into the laboratory. And so I've known Jean for a while, and Phil and I have worked together in the past. And so when this came up for looking at habitat restoration, which is a project I work on in a variety of different fields, I got involved with this to help lend some science expertise to laying out some aspects of the project. We've talked some, Jean, Phil, Dave, myself, talked some about potential of giving talks at Rotary, but also potentially using Rotary because I am now the Director of Environmental Activities, Environmental Action for the current district 6960 of all of Southwest Florida. So I've got access to all the club members and trying to extend this work into other areas. So I'll stop there.
Well, great. And Tim's just been a great addition to our group and brings a lot of insights. We have a lot of other collaboration with other scientific resources as well. Some staff from Moat Marine, the Suncoast Waterkeepers, Florida University Sea Agents, and we've been coordinating with Sarasota County staff as well. And really what's been very exciting of late has been a lot of collaboration with some other communities here on the Gulf Coast, but they're also on the East Coast of Florida, but here not far from us, who have been concerned about the same issues and taking similar actions, putting in mini reefs or other technologies to improve the water quality. There's an extensive program on Anna Maria Island. There's some new work underway in Venice. Right here on Siesta Key, the Regal Landings community has an extensive set of the mini reefs as well. So that collaboration with these other communities has been very, very helpful. And one thing I did want to quickly mention is a few of us on the team have recently gone out with the staff on Anna Maria Island on their boat that they use to do the water testing. And they have a group of students from Eckerd College and a professor from Eckerd who works with their team, similar the way that we are getting this relationship with Tim and Ringling. And we, members of our team, you as volunteers, could have an opportunity to go out with them on their boat on Anna Maria Island and see the work that they're doing. And I think we all found it to be a really great experience, and they're a great group of people. So we can follow up on that later, but I wanted to let everybody know that it takes a little while to get there to Anna Maria, but it's kind of a fun day. And actually, I saw a whole other side of Anna Maria Island that I never had really seen before on their canal system. So just wanted to let everybody know that that is an option, and was really very helpful, and was kind of a fun day as well. I don't know, Gene, if you wanted to add any more on that. Nope. All right. I'm going to take silence after 3 seconds of just keep moving.
Just took a minute. All right. The Anna Maria Island's done an excellent job with, they're about 2 years ahead of us. They started with Jacques Cousteau's son kicking off their project. So they have been about 3 years, and they have done an excellent job of engaging with a local university to bring in the expertise to really get water science going. And I'm really excited about the footprint they put down that we can follow. So that's where we are right now. Thank you, Dave.
Yep, sure. And again, we'll follow up to see if any of you are interested in doing that. I actually would like to go back myself, so we could talk about that. Again, we could talk for 20 minutes on this slide, and I'm not going to. I think you all know the issues that we're facing on the canal system. Carolyn, to some of your initial question, we are really looking at the entire 9-mile canal system. I have another map that maybe shows that a little more clearly here. This map on the left was actually provided to us by Sarasota County and maybe one of the other organizations. This is a water depth study that they had done. If I recall, Phil, this was from the 1990s. I think this was done. And it shows the different water depth levels. This is clearly one of the issues that we are confronting. These areas that are particularly shown here in red along the canal system are very low depths, and it's really a challenge to keep that water clean and keep that water flowing. And again, a whole host of other issues of deteriorating water quality that, we and others have been observing for some time. So we're taking our group, again, led by Gene, is taking a number of measures to try to improve the water quality, to bring in more fish and enhance the fish environment in the canal. We have been busy installing the mini reefs, which I'll talk a bit more. We're getting underway on the water testing and monitoring of the entire length of the canal. Looking into other additional technologies, and if there's time later, Phil and Tim, you could talk about that. But maybe that may be a conversation for another meeting. But I want to point to the last one. We really need to get into community awareness and education for those of us who live along the canal, for the rest of the Siesta Key community. And Carolyn, I know this is something you're very, very engaged in, the pesticides and other pollutants that are finding their way into the water system. We need a lot of education to take some actions to be able to slow that down and manage that more carefully. So I think there's a whole other discussion, Gene, that we probably need to start to have on that education and community awareness program. And I know it's something you're concerned about as well. Again, going to really quickly kind of illustrate these. I mean, many of you on the call are familiar with the mini reefs that we have been installing. One thing I just kind of like about this simple graphic is it shows the structure of the mini reef, which again are floating underneath the docks on the canal. And if those of you who have them in place and have had them for a few months, I'm sure you're seeing a lot of that growth that shows up on the right side of this simple graphic. I have 2 mini reefs out on my dock, and boy, they are just loaded up with that growth at this point. And it's really been less than a year that they've been in place. This is just a screenshot showing some of Phil's fantastic video monitoring work. I'm sorry, buddy.
Sorry, I was going to point out behind Phil is your mini reef, okay, with the fish behind it.
Yeah.
Right. And now what you're doing here is showing the pictures of those. So I just want to point out that this is actual things that we've put in the water recently.
Yeah. So I can't remember how many months ago this was.
I blew it. Whoops. Oh, darn. I muted Dave. Dave, I muted you by mistake. I meant to mute me.
Yeah. Gene muted me. Jeez.
Yes.
So yes, as you say, Phil has been doing a great job, and you can see that that running video behind him, that is the video that he's taken. I think that is the one from my dock here. So this is another, I think, exciting part of our monitoring would be, it's one thing to do the science and to get the actual data for the water quality, but to graphically show the improvements in the sea life and the marine life is pretty effective. Let's see. Okay, let's get to the status of the project and the mini reefs that we have been installing. And again, Carolyn, I think you were bringing up just some basic background questions. Yes, our project is on the entire 9-mile canal system here on Siesta Key. And actually, many people are initially surprised when you learn that it really ends up totaling to be about 9 miles of canals. If you can you see my cursor up in the upper right-hand corner of the graphic? Okay. That is the one location where this 9-mile canal system opens up to Sarasota Bay. So that's the only source of water coming in and out into the canal system. That's actually one of the very key issues. clearly the water conditions along this portion of the canal are very, very different than, for example, around this area of the canal, which we call these kind of dead end canals. They're a good distance away from the source of that water flow. We have been, though, installing mini reefs throughout the system. A lot of the focus initially was on this first area around Siesta Key Circle and around that opening. To help with get us a little organized as we collect data and advance this program, we decided to divide up that 9-mile system into these 4 zones. There could have been different ways to do this, but this is the way that we decided it, to these 4. And this is in the green, the Grand Canal, the Siesta Isles in this purplish lavender, the Palm Island in the blue teal, and Orange Beach, Sarah Sands in the orange. So these are, they're a part of the complete system, but when as you start to see, when we're recording data, when we're organizing it, when we're reporting it, we are trying to have everything identified as in being in one of these 4 zones. Just as a point of reference, I live where the cursor is right now. I live on Avenida del Norte. I live right about at that point. I'm one of the few spots where the canal is actually, the canal, and we have a dock, is right across the street from our front door, and there's no homes on the other side. It's just the canal. Obviously, most of you, the canal is in your backyard. It's a little different on this section and a little bit over here as well. The summary table on the left kind of shows our current status as of May, and that's April was the last time that we had an installation of mini reefs. We've done a count, and again, organizing it by the zones, and we have a little under 880 homes in the entire area that have docks accessing the canal system. And we've identified those for each street that are in these zone areas. And so as we're installing more mini reefs or discovering more mini reefs that have been installed, we're adding them to this inventory, which is really a pretty simple spreadsheet database, which I actually want to show some of that next. This is just a screenshot of a section of that inventory. So as you can see, we've identified each street within each of those zones. We've tried to identify the number of homes that have docks that are on that street. And again, we're keeping a running tally and when each of our installation periods take place, how many homes on that street and how many new reefs on that street. So this is an ongoing tally that we'll be keeping. I'm going to show later soon our reporting and monitoring spreadsheet, and you'll see that it's now organized in this same manner. So for each zone, we have each street, and then we show the houses or the addresses that actually have mini reefs on that street. So for example, right now I'm looking at Siesta Key Circle, which is probably one of our, probably the best penetration of any of these streets in the entire system. 35 homes on Siesta Key Circle, which is up near the bay opening, that have 35 homes that have docks, and currently 11 of those 35 have mini reefs on them, and that totals 14 mini reefs. So again, some homes have 2 mini reefs, some homes have just 1. So one of the activities I've been keeping up this inventory spreadsheet. One of those will be asking for you to help as we go out into different zones and different streets to kind of monitor that activity and kind of feeding that information back to me to make sure that we have an accurate count. That same inventory database is also reflected on Google Earth mapping. And again, this is just a screenshot and this is a little out of date, but we're again trying to keep up with putting the actual addresses onto the map. And the Google Earth mapping, and Tim, this is something that we have to, I think, talk some more about. You know, what a resource that we can use with your team on this to be able to really dig in deep. You can zoom in and get an incredible level of detail on where those mini reefs are located. But we also want to start getting additional information into the mapping database. Those water depths can be recorded here. I'm particularly interested in recording where the stormwater drains are along the system. So that's something that we'll be adding into this. Starting to talk a little bit now about some of the data collection and the water testing that goes into this. And I'm going to then kind of show you, going to switch out of the PowerPoint and show you this spreadsheet that we have to work with. But these graphics on the left, this is just a simple data form that captures most of the water testing that we're doing. I think we're expanding this a bit from what we've learned from others, but this is what is used by the Florida Water Watch program. This says Florida Keys, but it really is used throughout the state. So this is what we kind of started with and in building our database. But as I said, we're adding more specific measures as we've been going along. The photo on the right is actually the testing equipment that is used on Anna Maria Island with their team from Eckerd College. And this is what we mentioned earlier, and we were talking about before the phone call really got started, the experience of going out with them. And you can see how easy it is to use the equipment. It really gets quickly and easily and consistently gets these measures. So our goal is to acquire 2 sets of similar types of equipment. It might not be this exact equipment, but get that equipment available for our team that will be able to use that, go out on boats, go out on other measures to collect this data at selected sites in the canal. And that's really a whole advanced set of the program is to get this equipment and get a routine data collection system in place to use this equipment. So we'll eventually get into that some more. I'm going to switch gears. Any questions at this point? Because I'm going to while we're talking about any questions, I'm going to switch gears and I want to actually show you this spreadsheet. Anybody have any questions? I know I've been trying to go through things quickly. If not, all right. Can you see the Siesta Key Grand Canal regeneration project testing and monitoring database? Assuming everybody sees that on the screen. This is an Excel spreadsheet. Again, Tim, be interested for us to kind of dig into this some more. This is the way I set it up, but there's lots of improvements and lots of other ways that we could go about this. But I'll step through a little bit of orientation of what this is, and then I'll get into our task that we want to dive into. As I said earlier, as we've done the inventory, we've identified each, I'm looking at the left columns, we've identified each street within each zone that has docks that are onto the that are on the canal system. So even in zone 1, Tropical Circle, Venice Lane, Commonwealth Drive, Commonwealth Lane, Commonwealth Place. And then as homes,
Dave,
yes,
question.
sure.
The addresses are blank. Could you explain? I mean, because right now I can't tell if this is in zone 1. So just so you're explaining, so you're setting up zone 1 and these will be addresses being the street, just the street. Is that what that intent is?
So do you, I hope you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. So let's see with the first line, Tropical Circle, zone
I'm not
1.
seeing that. What I'm seeing is, I'm seeing a spreadsheet that says site ID identification, and it has the address with X's and longitude and latitude.
Okay, I'm trying to show the actual Excel
All right, so
spreadsheet.
you have to stop sharing and then reshare to get to that spreadsheet.
This is what you go through every time. you
Yes,
do.
sir.
So I have to stop sharing.
Right?
Okay, I got you. I got you.
And then
Then I
select
have to
spreadsheet.
share it again. Then I share screen again, Jean?
Yes, and select your spreadsheet.
I see. All right. Sorry about that, everyone. Yep. It's this. Okay. All right. Sorry. I didn't realize that. You've mentioned that before, but I never actually had to really go through that step. Sorry about that. Okay. Now do you see an actual spreadsheet, and it has addresses and it has some shaded areas? So, yep. Right.
Yep.
That's what we're seeing. Okay. Again, apologies. So I'm going to step through that example on, it's actually line 7. This is in zone 1 on Tropical Circle. There's actually only one home on Tropical Circle that currently has a mini reef. It's 773 Tropical Circle. I'm showing the addresses now. When we publicly release any of this information, we're very, very conscious of privacy. So we X out those numbers or shade out those numbers. But I thought within our internal team, I think it was okay to show you how this is presented. But I wanted to make it clear that as this gets maybe published online, we don't want to just be showing everybody's specific street address. So at 773 Tropical Circle, and then there's a set of very basic descriptive information about that site. So we take latitude and longitude readings, and I'm going to explain how we do that. We describe the habitat. Is it a seawall or a mangrove? We have some ways to identify the general location of where that is in the canal system. We want to record whether that particular site is just a dock or it's a dock with a lift, a boat lift. And then there's some measurements that we'll be starting to record: depth, distances, and other things like that. I'm going to start to move to the right to just show you what the rest of the database looks like. So same address, let's say, just stay with that Tropical Circle. There's really not any data in here, but we are going to do an annual inspection of each mini reef, and on certain dates, we'll just kind of make sure that it's in good working condition, that if there's any resolution measures that are needed to tighten up the wiring or the connections or anything. Then there's, for any time that we actually do testing, we'll be recording the date, the time, and some basic measures about the conditions of weather, whether it's a high tide, low tide. We have different measures of the water quality and the water color. So you can even see below here, cloudy water, green color. And by the way, most of the time lately it's been green that we're seeing that, though after the rainstorms, it's been brown. So, and again, anytime we go out and do testing, we're getting those very basic measures, air temperature as well as water temperature. And I wanted to also mention that this isn't shown in the way it is on the spreadsheet now, but whenever we start to do actual water testing measurements, we will do them at the surface of the water and at the bottom, at the depth of the water. And that's something that we're certainly seeing that the other sites, Anna Maria and others, are doing that as well. So that'll be reflected on this spreadsheet in the next version. But I just wanted to show you some of the basic measures. So there's measures of salinity, turbidity, and we can have other times that we can define what these measures are. We have the equipment that will be recording pH levels, dissolved oxygen, nitrates, chlorophyll, and some other measures that I actually learned a little bit about on Anna Maria that I think we'll be adding to that as well. Again, you can see a lot of information that's going to be collected over time at each of these sites. And then a section for Phil's video monitoring. And again, Phil, I think we really need to get ways to and systematically record, how much marine life activity you've observed, and identifying the predominant fish and additional fish that are in each of those recordings. But that's something that we'll get into at a future date. Okay, so that's a quick run through of this spreadsheet, but let me just show you. This is zone. I'm just going to go down to the bottom slowly. This is zone 1. This is all of the addresses that have mini reefs. Now we're into zone 2, and you can see zone 3, and you can see zone 4, just to give you some exposure to all that is here. So what do we want to accomplish over, what just happened? I don't know how, but I just lost there we go. Sorry about that. Can you still see this? Do you still see the spreadsheet on the screen? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I lost it for a second there. So what are we going to see if any of you can help us with? Our first task that we really want to do is this section that I'm showing right now, latitude, longitude, habitat, canal location, dock lift. We won't even really worry about the depths right now until we get that equipment. But we really want to fill in all of this information for all of the sites that we have. So what you see shaded here, it's where my cursor is right now. These are blocks of that data that needs to be filled in. So for basically all of the sites in this example, Commonwealth Drive, Commonwealth Lane, Commonwealth Place, we want to build up this basic inventory of descriptive information. So what are the GIS readings, the latitude and longitude? What, for each one of these sites, is it a seawall environment? Do they have a lift or not? So I want to see.
I have my hand up, Dave. I don't know if you see it. I was going to suggest the other thing is when they go into that section, if they don't see the address and they see a mini reef, they identify it.
Yes. I wanted to mention that. So what we're discovering is there are some other sites, some other homes that now have mini reefs that may not have been put in through our program. They may have been put in through other vendors, through other sources. They may have actually been something that was there earlier that we missed in our early data collection. So if you are able to help out and you're out there and we're recording this information and you see, I'm going to stick with the Commonwealth Drive, you see the home that is 4910 Commonwealth Drive and they have mini reefs, then let's add that to the database. Correct. So I'm going to be able to show you how to get some of this information, and there's really two tools that I use when I'm out in the field gathering this information. There are two apps, and if you have a smartphone, and that's, I think, really helpful to be able to get out there and get this information. I have a compass app on my smartphone, and for any location I'm in, the compass app shows me the latitude and the longitude. So if I'm out there and I'm at 4900 Commonwealth Drive, I can be out either on the water or on land near the dock, and really simply looking at my compass app on my phone, it'll give me that latitude and longitude reading. So we're going to have a paper form, and you can actually just record that right on the spot. Real simple observations for the habitat. I happen to think that almost in this example where I am on Commonwealth, almost all of these locations, I believe, are seawall, but we want to look at each one to make sure if they're seawall or if they have a mangrove environment. And again, whether they have a lift or not is really what that boils down to, if it's a dock only or if they have a lift. Eventually, we'll be recording, once we get the depth finding information, we'll be recording those depths both at low tide and at high tide to be able to supplant that depth study in that graphic that I showed earlier. So as you can see, there's lots of shaded areas here where we need to get that data filled in. So I wanted to see if any of our volunteers, and again, some of you are not here, I understand, in town right now, but for those who are in, and we have some other folks that I think will be able to help, if we could get together, and I was even going to propose early next week, get together and we can go out together on a field trip. And again, I can show the use of the apps and the use of the information to identify the address, confirm the address, and get that latitude and longitude, and then make the simple observations that are here. We'll have paper forms that can be used to record that information, and then I can get that back and we'll add it to the database. And a real, and I think it's a realistic goal, would be to complete this portion of the database by the end of the summer, to just be able to have a good, clean start of the information that we do have. Maybe I'll pause there and want to see, see if there are any folks who are here in town who would be able to help with this, and see if you'd be available the early part of next week to get together, and we can go out on a little field trip, and I can show you how we collect this data.
Dave,
yeah.
This is Bruce.
Yeah.
You just go out in your kayak, and that's how you just paddle around and do it?
Yeah, so that's another thing to mention. Yeah, right now we would do it. We could do it on the kayak. We may have a boat or two, a small boat or two available, but that's another request. If anybody does have access to a boat, that's certainly easier and more efficient to get out there in a small boat and be able to move around a little quicker. But yeah, I have been doing it just on the kayak. One observation on the kayak, again, it's slower, but when just doing this simple kind of record keeping, it works okay on the kayak. If you start using testing equipment on the kayak, or if any of you have ever fished or done anything like that on a kayak, it gets a little awkward, right? So yeah, long-winded answer, but that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, and you could do it on a wave runner or jet ski likewise also. You get around faster if you did it.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm up for it. If you need another volunteer, I'm happy to help.
That'd be great. That would be really great. Okay.
Dave, this is Judith. While we're on I've got a quick question. I'm just looked up the 4900 Commonwealth Drive longitude, latitude online. I mean, is there a starting point where I'm happy to do it? It's just the default, and then we can kind of confirm on the
Yeah,
water?
I'm sorry. Thank you. I was going to mention that. That's actually certainly the option to do it. You can just get these easily right online as well. Yes.
It's one less thing to have to do on the water in
Yeah.
terms of writing it down.
The other thing is trying to know where 4914 is versus 4918 when you're on the water.
Yeah. So that's the other thing which I'll show when we go out. What I do when either on the water or on land next to the dock is that's where I use Google Maps.
Yeah, okay, that
So
makes
we
sense.
have Google Maps on, and there's the Explore function, and that shows your location, but it also nicely shows the structure of the house, and it shows the address on there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So if it's helpful to pre-populate, I'm happy to do that
Yeah.
for the long
That'd be great.
latitude.
Great. The reason I was mentioning it of doing it out on the site, you're right. It's more efficient to just go down the list and to get those. Is we still want to try to get to the site to confirm some of these other
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. That would be a great way to do that. So we can talk more about that as well. Yep.
Okay.
Great. So that would be over really the next, let's say through the rest of the summer, but I think a concentrated effort over the next couple of weeks to try to collect this information. Again, have a complete set of the basic inventory of descriptive information. And meanwhile, we are hopefully moving forward in securing the testing equipment. And, we'll have a team of us that can get trained on using that testing equipment. This is where getting out on a small boat or some other craft really becomes important, to be able to get out there, and we can have teams that can go out on a regular schedule to use that equipment and fill in, these other testing cells that we have here in the spreadsheet. But again, the first step is let's get the basic inventory all set. Why don't I? So I'm going to follow up with you two and see about maybe we can find a time, agree on a time early next week. I'd even say Monday or Tuesday, get together. If anybody else is able to do that on the call, but we also have, I know a couple other people who are not going to be able to be on the call today that may be able to join in as well. And Phil, I know that you're interested in see what your schedule is like early next week, but I know you've been interested in jumping in on this too.
Yeah, we're going to be getting an aerator for the Stanford dock, so we might want to do a test before the dissolved oxygen and that sort of thing, which might be an interesting little project. So
that'd be perfect. In fact, I
want
want
to get some videos.
I wanted to give a minute or two for you to be able to talk about that project as well. So maybe that's a good time to do that. Why don't you just give a little background on what you
We
need.
applied for a Sarasota Bay Estuary Program grant to put an aerator to increase the dissolved oxygen in one of the dead-end canals where we have too many reefs that have been there for 3 years now. And what we've heard is if you increase the dissolved oxygen, the colonization will rapidly increase. So we didn't get the full grant that we wanted, but we did get enough to get an aerator and a diffuser and that sort of thing. And we have permission by the dock owner to plug it in. So we're in the process now. I just heard from the company and they're ready to send it to us as soon as we order it. So this could happen real quick and be very exciting.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's great. As Phil mentioned, that we were successful in getting that grant. Really, a lot of the activity over the last couple of months, and I really applaud Jean for taking the lead in all of this, has been the collaboration with the other projects and the other organizations, but it has been in a pretty aggressive effort to put in applications for some grant funding so that we can get equipment, that we are hoping to even get a small boat as part of the project for part of the project team. Phil was successful in securing this for that aeration system. We have a very good we had very good discussions with the Gulf Coast Community Foundation group and have, I think, a good opportunity of some potential funding from them. And we have a very exciting grant application into Sarasota County. And Jean, maybe this is a chance for you to talk a few minutes about that. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, just real quick. Basically, once again, we recognize that if we can put these mini reefs into some sort of a cluster, so if we can cluster them, we have a better chance of really building habitat more quickly. So what we've done is proposed to the Sarasota County to put in 30 reefs, believe it or not, on the other side of Venice Avenue. So it's basically Commonwealth Place, Commonwealth Lane. And so we've done the two ends of Commonwealth. Sorry.
Did I do this correctly? Can you see a map slide on there?
No, sir, you got to just.
Okay, all right. I'm still not doing it right. Sorry.
Okay, so the point is that what we're doing is clustering these mini reefs into this dead end canal, definitely to Commonwealth Place, Commonwealth Lane, and you'll see it on the map in a minute. There'll be 30 of them, and then we've picked 2 control sites. And the idea is to prove once and for all that the mini reefs do work and bringing in the kind of sea life, marine life we want, and can actually make a difference in the water chemistry. So that's what we're going after. We believe that honestly, if we can do this, that what we'll see, yeah, the last slide, Dave. You've got the map up. Anyway,
I just wanted to show this is the circle
we
there
can
is.
reduce the duration. Yeah, that's the circle of where we're putting it. And there's what we're looking at. So you'll notice the red dot down on the right-hand side. That's one storm water drain. We have a couple of storm water drains. Now, unfortunately, we were unable to convince the people at 590 and 590, 589. No, yeah, 590 and 4830 to put in the mini reefs, just where we needed them. But we will take something along Venice Lane. There's a couple more drains. But what we're trying to do is concentrate around the drains to see if, again, that's the runoff, to see if we can reduce the chemicals coming into our water. So we want to do, and maybe this will be a good place to do a control, because they don't have it. And yet, if we put it over on the other side of 575, there's a drain over there. So perhaps what we'll do is concentrate in that area to see if we can reduce what's coming into the canal by using the mini reefs. The idea here is the fact that the mini reefs can change the chemistry. It does take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. And we believe that by putting them in, we actually will reduce the duration of red tide, because we'll be removing the nutrients. That'll be, I mean, that might take a while to be able to discern, but at least we can see if we've changed the chemistry of the water. That's what the idea is in there.
But we pulled together a grant application for Sarasota County for their Neighborhood Initiatives Grant Program. And that's been submitted and is going through the process. And there's a meeting on July 22nd to rate all of the applications that they received. And we've had favorable response so far. Right.
Yep. Yeah, we're really hopeful that we'll get this. If we don't get it, then I'm going to go out and start pushing for a neighborhood to join in and see if we can't do it that way. One of the things that's been exciting, again, about our operation is the fact that how we've gotten the community involvement, and that's really made a difference. So I'll let it go at that.
Yep.
Thank you, Dave.
Do you want to talk about any of the other grant work that we've been doing, or do you save that for?
I got 2 others I'm going at. We've got the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. I have to get some information to them to be able to get, they are hopefully our source for buying our equipment for water testing, but I need to get them an invoice so we can get that grant moving. I have also 2 other grants I'm going after, Sarasota Community Foundation, and then Phil gave me another one. Now they take work, so I just have to fit it into my schedule. So I'm working on both of those. The Sarasota Foundation, another community foundation, Sarasota. That one is also being used by Anna Marie, the Center of Anna Marie, and they got mini reefs. So I'm trying to go after them to give us a program where we can sponsor 2 for 1. So if you buy one, you get one free, something like that. So I can try to increase in our installs. So we'll see how that goes. That's down the road.
That's great. Great. I'm going to just open it up for questions again, but just to kind of wrap up, Bruce and Judith, and do you go Judith or Judy? Or you prefer?
Well, I answered to most things, but Judith is fine.
Okay. Okay. Yep. I'll be following up directly with you, and we can kind of get a date. Again, I would try for either next Monday or Tuesday.
Monday's great.
Monday. Okay, great. And then I'm going to see, I think there might be a couple other people that we can have as well. Get a few of us together. And we can.
Dave, I wanted to bring up Eileen. Eileen has been one of our volunteers. And right. Eileen has one of those little, I want to say like a pontoon boat, but it's not really. It's right. You know, it's one that'll sit about 3 people. And we also have another boat that was given to us as a gift. When I say a boat, it's a little skiff, and it will hold 2 people easily. But we have to get a little motor for it, electric motor for it. And the point is that we have people that have docks. I have Carolyn here who has the dock on Heigl. But the point is we can put these boats in strategic locations, and people going out, they'll be easier to use than a kayak for some of the testing we're going to do. So we have those available for people to use. Eileen will be one person that can actually run a skiff, but I'm not sure how we'll handle the other one, but we'll be able to take a smaller boat out, because doing measurements on a kayak, you need 2 people, at least one to hold your kayak while you lean over.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. When we get to do actual testing measurements, I've done it on the kayak, and it's not the way to go. Yeah, definitely. So, and Eileen was one of the people I wanted to see if she's available. I'm not sure if she's available early next week, but anyway, we will make that arrangement and get that. So let's actually shoot for Monday, and let's say 10 a.m., something like that. That'd be okay. Yeah,
sounds great.
And then I'll follow up directly with you and with others, and we'll get that organized.
Great.
We're actually trying to stick to the 1 hour. We have a few minutes. I wanted to open it up for any other questions, but also make sure Tim, Phil, Paul, you have any other thoughts that you wanted to add before we wrap up this call.
I have that kayak if anybody wants it.
I would just like to say, after going on the boat at Anna Maria, which I recommend everybody do, it's actually kind of fun using these gadgets to determine this stuff. It's not that challenging, and you get to yik-yak with people while you're out there doing it and have a good time. So it's a good day on the water, and and the systems do not require as the scary calibration that they originally tried to scare us with. You know, this whole fear thing. I'm tired of it. It was just fun. So it's not my area of interest, really, running those things. I'll screw it up. But we did do one thing on the boat where they took a putty knife and they scraped off specimens off of the shelf, and we found this really tiny little crab, and I'm going, this is cool, because they have no place to live in these old trenches, and now they do. So to me, that finding that little crab on this fairly new reef was really interesting. So part of the thing will be getting your hands dirty and scraping some stuff off, putting them in a bag, and then we're going to put together an illustrated book. Jorge from Akron College and the rest of them are all going to, so you could say, oh, that crab, that tiny crab, that is whatever crab. There's a lot of varieties of crabs, I don't know, but that's going to make it so the excitement's going to start to grow as these colonization grows. So it was fun.
Yep.
And I wanted to add too, Caroline's going to be joining us in this, and Caroline has been involved in water here in Siesta Key for many years. So she has studies going back to the 50s on the chemistry on the water. So this is her field, and I'm looking forward to having her join us and helping out with the science side of our project. So we'll be able to look back and see where it was, where it is today. And that's part of our education process for the community, is to explain where we are with our water and where we have to go. And that's part, as I said, part of our education we're going to be doing. So I think it's excellent to see this kind of work come, and she's happy about it too. So you'll see more from us later.
Yeah, no, I think that is great. And finally, just to reiterate what Phil was saying, once we get into the actual water testing with the equipment, the equipment is very simple to use, takes just a little bit of exposure and training. But maybe even more important for us, it'll consistently record that information. So takes a lot of the subjective testing out of some of the other manual approaches that we were first looking at. So key step is getting this equipment in place. But again, our first goal is to complete the inventory, and we'll get started on that early next week.
I'd like to add one thing, Dave, if I may.
Yeah.
The bottom line for me on all this is a lot of the grants, they don't give you a grant if it's just we hope to do or we want to do. They want to see data. And if we go after the bigger ones like the Bloomberg Foundation, where we could actually turn our region into something, if we supply them data, we're way ahead of the crowd on that sort of thing.
And actually, to add to that, on that note, is this data, once all assembled, will be fed into a state database and a national database. There's quite a lot of effort going into this all across the country, and we can be a part of that. Our focus is obviously here local on our canal system, but I think it's pretty exciting that we can be part of a broader picture as well. So.
And as we go forward, we will need a boat because while the probes can get wet for these instrumentations, the meters themselves cannot. And so, these things cannot go out on a kayak.
No. That we are not taking.
Right. No, I understand that. But do we have is there a map that we already have, or we need to make one up to show not only where we're doing the sampling, but also where the control areas are that also need to be sampled?
No, we don't. That's part of what we need to talk about.
Okay, great.
We have mapping that shows where the reefs are located.
Right.
We need some effort for us to talk about testing sites and control sites.
Okay, great.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Correct.
I was going to add, Tim, we've identified the areas. For example, you saw the map on Venice Lane. Right. Venice Lane, the whole side, one side will not have reefs. So that's a one control point. And we picked another down further on the canal, another dead end on the right-hand side where there's only one or two reefs that'll be the other canal. So we've selected our areas, but only identified them. We haven't done any real investigation yet.
Right.
Okay. Because we'll need a couple of places that don't have a reef.
Yes. That's right. And we want a similar environment where they've got a dead end and a drain. So we picked these areas because of those features. We just haven't documented them as tightly as we need to do. And that's what we're supposed to do from now. We have now until the middle of September to really do, till about the 15th of December to do that. But we want to get those measurements done before we drop those mini reefs in. So
sure.
Yes. Amen. Agreed.
Yep.
Okay, so
okay, so trying not to take up people's time. If there are no other questions, we can end this. Again, I'll be following up for early next week, and we'll also just we'll be better about keeping in touch as we move through the next couple of months. Okay, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Really exciting to have you all engaged in this project. Really great.
nice job, Dave. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you later.
I'm gonna thank you, Becky. I'm gonna
Thank
go ahead and
you.
take
Yeah.
everything off now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
thank you.
close it down. You're okay,
All right.
Paul? Okay, I'm closing it down.